Hi, Forrest. Hi, Julia. Thanks for being with us today. Appreciate you taking the time to talk with me a little bit and would love to start with Forrest. Maybe you can introduce yourself to us.
Hi, my name is Forrest Neander. I go to Shorewood High School.
All right. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Describe yourself in the way that you
I am
think.
so excited to share some information about me. I am a hardworking, positive, and creative person.
What do you like to do?
My interests include art, music, animals, politics, novels, bowling, skiing, telling jokes, swimming, and hanging out with friends.
You're a busy guy. So I know that you are quite the artist. Can you tell us a little bit about your art?
I am particularly interested in art. I have been an artist for many years. I have created cards, mugs, and paintings.
I see some of your art displayed there in the background. It looks fantastic. So you and Donna, who is one of Provale's speech therapists, have been working together for quite a few years now. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're working with Donna on now?
My work has been chosen for display at Edmonds Artworks, Shack Art Center, the Den Coffee Shop, Reflections Art Competition, Shoreline School District Calendar, Shoreline City Hall, multiple online shows, and the Museum of Special Art in Bothell. What else do you want to know?
All right. Thank you. That I appreciate you sharing more about the art. That's good. We will we've let people know in the past when you had art exhibitions, and we will definitely keep folks informed about that in the future. So tell us a little bit about what you and Donna are working on now.
Donna and I are working on a new program called SnapCourt, and we will be working on getting a new communication device this year.
Very good. You are also working with the Provale employment team. Can you tell me how that's going?
Donna also works with my Prevail job coach, Phil. I have been working with Phil to help develop my customer service skills to work as a volunteer at Woodland Park Zoo. I also am on a committee to help make the zoo more accessible.
That's great. So Julia, can you tell us a little bit about how you would describe Forrest?
Well, Forrest is, he's always been very easygoing and likes to have fun. He has a really good sense of humor, likes to tell jokes a lot. He's also somebody who works really hard and he doesn't give up. So he has a really good attitude.
How would you describe the relationship with Provale?
Well, we first started coming to Provale about 12 years ago. And so right now he's got speech therapy with Donna twice a week. And she also works with his school team, meeting with them at least once a month to coordinate and consult with them to make sure that he's getting the communication support he needs at school. And then with the occupational therapists at the clinic, Forrest has an appointment twice a month, and they do a lot of work with him on assistive technology, helping him with his durable medical equipment needs, like power wheelchairs and things like that. And then his job coach, Phil, he's been working with Phil for the last almost a year now to help work on his job skills so that he can have some usable skills when he finishes high school.
And why is that? Tell us about why that consultation that Donna has with you and the folks at the school is so important.
So our school district is wonderful, and they've been really good about supporting Forrest, but they don't really have the technical expertise that Donna has. And so instead of trying to train somebody, or hire somebody, which there's really nobody out there who has the technical expertise that Donna has. So they've contracted with ProVail to provide that. And it's been a really good partnership. It's been going on for a few years.
I would imagine that it also makes a difference that Forrest and Donna have worked together as long as they have. So Donna knows Forrest pretty well and can really work to not only be that technical expertise, but also be an advocate for him.
Absolutely. And Donna is really the best person at drawing Forrest out and helping him, find his voice. She's been doing that with him for so long now, since he was really in elementary school. Here's an example. So you might notice Forrest has a sling on his arm. He broke his arm last week, and we weren't sure how it happened, but Donna had a session with him on Zoom, and she was able to get him to say where it happened, and also used a pain scale so that he could relate to us how bad it hurt. And as a parent, that's just invaluable.
Yeah, absolutely. Forrest, I am sorry to hear about that. I have broken my arm too. I know how painful that can be. I love that you share that, Julie, because I think it's really important for folks to understand the significance of communication. It isn't just about school. It isn't just about work. It's critical to life. It's critical to healthcare. Yeah, that's great. How would you describe how you used the phrase a minute ago that that Donna has been helping him find his voice. So can you tell us a little bit about what that journey has been like in finding his voice over the years?
Yeah, so in elementary school, when we first found out about ProVail and Donna, she started out just using simple switches and kind of cause and effect stuff. And then she had laminated communication sheets to do some communication, some simple stories and things like that, and yes and no and things like that. And then she realized pretty quickly that Forrest was a good candidate for a sophisticated communication device like his Toby right here. And I'll turn that so that you guys can see how that looks. And this has like a nested system of boards for communication with just tons of vocabulary. And so this is his third generation of a sophisticated communication device that he's had. And we just keep adding to it and enriching it and developing more pages, more vocabulary, giving him more opportunity to express himself. At school, for work, he's got entertainment on here. He's got a camera. He's got quick ways to just reach, raise his hand, say, I have something to say. He can talk about his family. And he can talk about his life just like everybody else does. So it's pretty cool.
That is really cool. I would imagine that getting to that point led to a much greater degree of integration and connection and inclusion at school.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially with his peers, for some of them to understand, kids are so computer oriented and screen oriented, and for them to see Forrest and see him with this sophisticated device and realize, oh, he can do that. He's smart. Where if he didn't have that there, they might not realize what's inside his head.
Right, exactly. Yeah. It isn't necessarily enough to just create opportunities for students with disabilities to be in the classroom. We really want them to be able to engage when they're in the classroom. And this technology makes that possible for Forrest.
Absolutely. And then with Donna, working with Forrest's team at school, and she's also worked with his caregivers and with his family and with his teachers through the years, so that everybody can facilitate his communication better.
How about telling us a little bit about the work with Phil and the employment program and the process of going through transition? What's that been like?
Well, because of COVID, it's been a little slow, but it's given us a little more time to work on, as I was saying, enriching his device. So we've built quite a wonderful pool of information on here that Forrest can share about the Woodland Park Zoo. And that's taken a lot of time, both gathering the information and then programming it in the Toby. But Forrest can really help visitors to the zoo get oriented with interactive maps on here, and he can help them know more about facts about animals. And then he's got some kind of insider stuff that people wouldn't know, because, like, for instance, baby animals that aren't on display yet, Forrest has videos of them. So we're really ready when the zoo starts accepting volunteers back again. We're ready to jump in there. And Phil's been great. We've met him at the zoo and walked around with him and kind of identified, looked at challenges and opportunities at the zoo and thought about, real thoughtfully about where Forrest could fit in there really well. And the idea being that customer service at the zoo, those skills relate or could be transferred to customer service in a lot of different settings. It just seemed like a fun place to start. And the zoo does have a really great program for inclusion.
Right.
That Forrest is part of now. So.
Yeah, that's great. It is a great program. In fact, we started partnering with the zoo a few years ago, and this whole effort that they've developed to increase their inclusion and engage individuals like Forrest has become an award-winning effort on their part.
Mm-hmm.
So that's exciting to see. I am particularly excited about the fact that Forrest's device will be something that he'll have an opportunity to let other people engage with as well, by showing them videos and showing them the interactive map. That's a whole different twist to using a communication device that I don't think I've heard of before.
Oh yeah, and with kids, they'll cluster around and look. They'll watch it if something's playing on there. So
yeah, that's really cool.
Kids are curious. They're interested. They're not scared. So
right.
Uh-huh.
So Forrest was telling us about his art. We know that that's a really big piece of his life, and we can see that art in the background there. Can you tell us a little bit more about what his journey to becoming an artist has been like?
Yeah, well, it started at Provale. So he was part of a Provale sponsored art program, or a series of art classes called Art is Not an Option, that were held at a art supply store. Forrest learned how to paint. They tried a bunch of different adapted brushes and things for him, and we pretty quickly realized, or I should say they did, that he did best with his hands, and he really likes the texture of the paint, and he likes to get messy and go crazy with the paint, even taste it and things. But he was creating these amazing paintings, and people just love his color choices, and he's got a very distinctive style. So we started making note cards from his paintings and selling those, and we started making some mugs. And we've submitted some of his paintings for competitions and shows, and he's gotten a lot of accolades. In August of this year, he was written up in Real Change newspaper for being part of an art show at Shoreline City Hall that was typical student artist. It didn't have anything to do with people with disabilities, but one of his paintings was accepted to that show. So he's got a bright future ahead of him in being in his creative side of things. That's
really great. Yeah. And I love that you guys have been able to begin to sell those note cards and things. That's a great opportunity as well. Maybe a self-employment opportunity.
Absolutely.
In the future.
Yeah.
Really great. What would you want people to know about you've told us a lot about the technology, but as you think about how that technology plays a role in Forrest life in the future, what do you think people need to know about that in terms of opportunities and challenges?
Well, you mean for his communication technology? Yeah. So it takes a lot of hands-on by someone who understands how this computer works. And it also takes a skilled partner for Forrest to be able to effectively communicate. He's not at a point where he can independently select things on here. The way he operates his devices, he listens to his choices, and when he hears what he wants, he makes a selection. And so it can be pretty laborious. It can take time, and people who are interested in communicating with Forrest need to be very patient.
Yeah.
But as far as the technology, it's always changing. There are glitches. There are times when he's not going to be able to have his device charged up for whatever reason. So we do work on more rudimentary ways for him to make choices with using his eyes or his hands, so that we have backup.
Great. And then more generally, what do you think is next? I mean, as you think about Forrest life beyond high school, what do you think is next? What are your hopes and aspirations as a mom?
So I feel like Forrest has a really bright future ahead of him. He is part of a great community. We have a really wonderful community in Shoreline of friends and neighbors with and without disabilities. And he is really so outgoing and social that he's very poised to share his knowledge and his interests and his skills and talents with others. So as his family, we're just going to try to help him stay out there in the community and stay active. He's always doing stuff. So we're just going to keep going.
That's good. And what are your expectations for Provale as you keep going? What do you want to see us continue to do in terms of playing a role to support Forrest and support you?
So I think after we'd been going to Provale for a couple of years, I remember coming home and like turning to my husband and saying, Provale's going to be there for Forrest for his whole life. They've got the whole spectrum. So now he's just in the clinic. This year he started working in the employment side, and eventually he's going to want to live on his own, and you guys will be able to help us with that. So I really see Provale as a lifelong resource for our family, and we are very appreciative of Provale.
That's great. Well, we are very honored to have an opportunity to play that role and to be a support for you and for you, Forrest. Thank you for trusting us and giving us that opportunity. It's a real privilege for us. And
Mike.
Thank you for your time, Forrest. Thanks for sharing with us a little bit about yourself and sharing your art. And good luck with Woodland Park Zoo. I can't wait to see things open up and see you get an opportunity to be out there interacting with people in person. I think that'll be really neat to see and exciting for you.
Yay.